So I am doing my U.S. History second semester final project on the 1920s decade. I just think this decade's unique based on how the stock market had grown over these few years, as well as the presidents during this time. There's 3 presidents. We're gonna go more in depth about them. So our 3 presidents of the 1920s is Warren G. Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover. So learning more about Warren G. Harding, he had served 2 years, 1921 to 1923, after a sudden death. During his presidency, he was unpopular because of the heavy scandals under the government. He had this wanting to return to normalcy in the 1920s. A Republican candidate elected in 1921 was born on November 2nd, 1865. In Ohio, he later died August 2nd, 1923, during his presidency. We have Calvin Coolidge as our second president. He served 1923 to 1929. He was part of the Republican Party, and as the Republican Party, he wanted to cut down taxes. He succeeded after Harding's death and served as president from 1923 to 1929. He was born January 4th, 1872 in Vermont. He later died January 5th, 1933 in Massachusetts. Horner easily won the 1928 election for the Republicans. 8 months after he took office, the stock market had crashed and sent America into a Great Depression. Herbert Hoover grew up as a Quaker in Ohio. He was born on August 10th of 1874, died October 20th of 1964. Now going on to technology, we have the radio. The radio was a new way to bring people together in a much cheaper way. So the radio introduced new opinions, new ways to entertain, and it got more people updated in the news. Now we have the inventor of the radio. He was an Italian inventor and electrical engineer, known for working on this long-distance radio transmission. And for technology, we now have the automobile, the car. So the car helped provide many jobs in many industries, and also in the automobile industry alone. As automobiles made traveling much more convenient, many on-the-road businesses had opened. The automobile industry was becoming so successful. The inventor of the automobile. So Henry Ford, and the automobile founder of Ford Motor Company. Henry was the leader of mass consumption and mass production. He didn't exactly invent cars, but he made them a lot more efficient and cheaper, so the majority of Americans could make them more common in the 1920s. The 19th Amendment was huge when it came to a major event in the 1920s. It's recognized as being on August 18th of 1920. The 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution granted American women the right to vote, a right known as women's suffrage. On November 2nd of the same year, more than 8 million women across the U.S. voted in elections for the first time. It took over 60 years for the remaining 12 states to complete the 19th Amendment. Now we have U.S. foreign policy of the 1920s. So the main policy that was made through 1920s was when Mitchell Palmer raids offices of racial labor. 5,000 people were arrested, held for months, happening all over America. In 1920, Congress conquered raids and prisoners released. New thoughts on new people. There was better public opinions on people. So we're talking about how the culture was formed by jazz. So jazz emerged from the African American community within the city of New Orleans in the 1920s. 1920s, young Americans began to embrace this new style of music by listening, dancing, and just letting it represent the youth at this time. Now there's new fashion. So the new fashion for men in the 1920s was aiming to look slimmer, more casual, and young. This includes tighter jackets, suits that have broad shoulders, knitted ties, athlete-inspired trends like tennis wear. Tennis wear was very popular. Knitted ties, tighter jackets with broader shoulders, tennis wear, V-neck shoulders, sweaters. Now we have the decade in which women are more free to wear the clothes that they want to. They can start showing skin, they can wear shorter skirts. Shorter skirts were very popular. Young women within the 20s were largely wearing sportswears. Shorter skirts with pleats, gathers were very talked about. Low-waisted dresses with fullness at the line were terribly popular to ladies that like to dance. As a result of it, actually lifted up their heels once they started dancing. Now we have the celebrities, and the first celebrity looked up upon was born on May 6th of 1869 in Italy. He was famous for being in several silent films. In 1917, he started an acting career. He appeared in films such as The Four Horsemen. He later died on August 15 of 1926. In 1923, Bessie Smith, an also famous celebrity, received a record deal from Columbia Records and then made a track referred to Downhearted Blues. So was started the blues spotlight. She created several songs, Admire, Baby Doll, and After You're Gone by the 1920s. She was one among the far most productive black performers of her time. What is now known as the fashion movement was the 19th Amendment, when it was passed for women to vote. Women also began their own careers, their own futures as an independent, known as the fashions movement.